Check out this badass bolt action pen. It's machined out of titanium, and it's using a patent pending design which allows you to use just about any refill you want. You will never have to worry about your pen's refill size again, which is not only convenient, but it ensures you will have the type of smooth writing that you prefer. The tip is adjustable, so you can expose as much of the tip as you'd like. Pause. The clip is titanium, and it comes in a variety of materials. To hear more about these pens, check out today's sponsor, Big Idea Designs, linked in the description. Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and I am excited to say that today's knife video is a review of Metal Complex's first design. If you do not know who Metal Complex is, which I'm sure you do, but if you have been living under a rock, I'm going to link him down in the description. He's another knife channel, a very successful knife channel, and I'm actually very proud of all his successes. He's doing incredible work, and I knew eventually we would see a knife design, right? But we just don't know when, but it just so happens to have landed right when I'm doing a knife design, and some other content creators like Cole from Tri-State EDC. So it's awesome to see, a lot of my friends in the knife community that are also knife channels designing knives, because who's better to design a knife than the guys who are getting to feel and experience basically everything out there, right? And, especially when you've experienced so much, you know what works, what doesn't work, what feels good, what doesn't, and yada, yada, yada. And also what people enjoy. So I will actually pull one of my knife designs up here in 1 second, and we'll compare them because there is a lot of similarities. But let's get into it. So we have a Vanax blade with DLC. There's a bunch of different options, by the way. Lots of different flavors for this one. I think he's doing like 6 different options or something like that. Something like that. Don't quote me, but Vanax steel, 61 to 62 HRC. And the handle is a titanium integral. Yeah, buddy. Titanium integral frame lock, also DLC. We have a Timascus pivot collar and a Timascus pocket clip, which is really awesome. Then right here, you see we have a lock bar stabilizer, which is basically going to stop it from bending outward, from you unlocking it so you can't over travel it, and just basically stabilize the lock bar so it's going to last a lot longer and be more reliable. I did sharpen this puppy up because while the edge was sharp, it had been through a few hands, still had the factory edge on it. I felt a little tiny bit of micro chipping in the belly, so I decided to tune it up. So started on my Atoma diamond plates, which, by the way, we do have them on the Neve Knife Co site now, but right now we just ran out, but I'll be restocking them, so just check the link, if you guys are interested in getting any. If they're not available right this second, they'll be available very, very, very soon. So we're going to try to stay stocked with those, but use my Atoma diamond plates to reprofile it, and I reprofiled it to about 18 degrees per side. I didn't want to lower it back too far and make a massive edge bevel, but I did want to make it a little bit larger and sharper than it was from the factory. Typically, when you go to sharpen, you typically want to do that. But I didn't go so low that it would be on an extreme side. 18 degrees per side, sharpened up incredibly well. The reprofile went really good. The grind is very consistent. I love to see that, and it's not super thick behind the edge, so it has a good thickness for an easy sharpening. And as I went through the Atomas, I finished on my PDT metal bonded CBN plates, and those are, it's just it's a CBN infused basically copper and zinc, or copper and aluminum, or something like that. It's basically diamonds mixed throughout a liquid metal until it dries, and then it becomes a sheet of metal and it becomes a plate. They are available on their site, but we have new ones coming that have backs on them, so they'll be much thicker. Those are from the USA Market link, but that's what I finished on at 5,000 grit, and it came out extremely well. Now, I will be clear, I typically don't recommend to polish Vanax, unless if that's what you want, which in this case, that's what it was. I typically say, you know, the best grit for Vanax to last the longest is going to be a medium grit. It will take a really beautiful mirror polished edge, and it will have a lot of bite, but it tends to lose the bite a little bit quicker, or a lot quicker, than with a toothy edge or with a medium grit edge. So in most cases with Vanax, I would say just stick to a medium grit if you're caring about performance. In this case, I was caring about the looks. I wanted it to look beautiful, and you know, it is screaming sharp. After sharpening it, you know, I blazed it through some paper towels, went through them like butter. Paper obviously is nothing for it, so it did come out incredibly sticky, incredibly sharp, and I'm very happy with the results. So that's awesome, because the steel felt great on the stone, felt really good. The burr came up really nicely, the burr removed really nicely. Everything went exactly how you'd want it, which was really good. Now, I do not know how, you know, I mean, I'm basing this off of the prototype heat treat. You know, when it comes to mass production and it's being produced a lot more, I'm not sure how well that will be done, but KUNWU so far has been very impressive to me. They actually care about their steels, and that's something I very much respect about them, is that they do care about the HRC. They do care about the steels and the heat treatment. So, so yeah, I've been very happy with all the steels I've tested from them, and this one included. Went really well. And then I did test it with some, you know, a little bit of cutting performance to see how well it cut, how the ergonomics were and all of that. And the geometry, the blade stock thickness is going, we're going to go over some of the changes, but 135 thousandths is what it's going to be. Right now, I think it's like 130, 127 thousandths. So the spine's gonna thicken up just a tiny bit. The edge is gonna stay the same thickness. Right now, after sharpening, about 18 thousandths behind the edge. So nice, good, thin geometry, especially for this type of knife, being somewhat of a tougher knife, I would say. Is the geometry to be a great cutter, but it also has the geometry to be, you know, a little bit more robust, not like hard use or anything like that, but a great cutter. But you're not going to have to worry about edge stability with, you know, doing a little bit of tougher use. But the ergonomics in the handle, or sorry, the ergonomics of the handle and the blade complement each other extremely well. I love the ergonomics of this. It just melts in my hand. Then when you have this type of blade shape, it makes it perfect for use because it's straightforward. It's a spear point blade, and being a spear point blade, the tip lines up with the center of the pivot, so you know exactly where it's at all times, whether you're poking into something or doing a utility cut. It doesn't have a serious amount of belly, so you know it doesn't slip out of cuts. It's going to slice really well, and you have a nice choke up spot. You get up nice and tight to that edge. Pinch grips are also going to be really good, you know, and it just is a straightforward profile that works. Even like when you turn it around to cut straps, because of the spine being the way it is, it distributes the pressure really nicely for you know, cutting, you know, I guess towards you, or cutting, you know, rope and stuff like that. So very happy with the cutting performance, and just with the ergonomics and performance in general. It is really nice. So the action is, again, super good. He said he's going to increase the detent strength. I'll be honest, I think that this is about perfect. It's really good detent, but hey, I love a stronger detent, so I have no issue if he did want to strengthen it up a little bit. I've seen he does have a lefty version that is an option. However, you know, you can easily flick this left-handed. Not sure how easy that'll be after the detent gets strengthened, but you have the thumb studs, which are the stop pin as well. And you can see where they engage right there. You can see where they hit, and then they also hit in the front. So it is the stop pin. It's an external stop pin that also acts as a thumb stud, and it works great. Lands in a great position. In many cases, they're in a position that's not as comfortable to use, but in this one's case, it works extremely well. And then you have the hole, which you can easily reverse flick. It lands right where I want it to. And the thumb flick, same thing. You can easily use the hole, but you can also use the thumb stud. Then you have the fuller that you can also use. Not sure how easy that's going to be if the detent gets increased, but you can hear it. it has a good detent. So I'm happy with the detent. With the lock bar access, they did not cut you back any lock bar access, or he didn't, but he did have the insides chamfered really nicely, so it is very soft. The whole thing right here is very, very soft, you know, and so when you disengage, it is very comfortable, very easy to disengage, no issues with that. To be honest, it wasn't even necessary for them to cut it back. You can still kind of get it from the side, and like I said, super comfortable. You can let it drop down to your finger. If you keep your finger nice and high, it's going to hit in the not sharpened area, and it is very, very smooth, riding on ceramic caged bearings. So super duper smooth. Now, being integral means this handle is all one solid piece. So you're less likely for screws to back out and for the scales to, you know, start switching up on you. You just have to worry about the pivot. And in this case, we have a pivot collar in Timascus. There's going to be on the final version a pivot collar on the lock bar side as well. Then the pocket clip, as far as use goes, this was one of my biggest complaints was the pocket clip, but I'm actually gonna kind of take it back. Well, one thing, he is gonna have a couple little changes. My issue is two things. One, it does sit up above the scales, but the biggest thing is where the peak lands. It lands right on this corner. And this is why I like my lock bar cutouts on the inside, is because then it never gets hit right there. It never gets trapped. You never get your pants or whatever you're wearing to get stuck right there. I wear the Perfect jeans, which use very thick pockets, and they tend to get caught up a lot more than a lot of other pants with certain clips and stuff. So what happens is when I try to just put it straight in, it hits this corner and it won't go in my pocket. However, all I got to do is go like this and it'll slide right in, no problem. So basically just I let it hit my pocket and I just very slightly turn it and slide it right in. I can do it one-handed. So it winds up becoming very, very easy. So, you know, in that case, you know, it works fine as long as I'm willing to do that. And in this case, because it's an integral, I don't think they could have put the lock bar on the inside anyways, but he likes it aesthetically. So he likes the look of it, which I can understand because there's a lot of things I like the look of as well that some people might not like as much. Like I love the look of large hardware, you know, whether it's T8s or T20s or T10s, I like the look of that. I think it looks good and it makes it look strong and tough. Oh, and by the way, the sharpen, show, and plunge grind is done extremely well. You can see where it starts and where it ends, so you have plenty of life. I've already laid back the edge and there's still plenty of room to do a bunch of more sharpenings. So very, very nice with the choil. Love to see that because I am very nitpicky about that because I do like to sharpen knives. The texture on this knife is so comfortable. I love this diamond patterned texture. It feels really good in the hand. It does offer some traction, but then it also, you know, it looks good. I love the look of it. This thing's very attractive to me. I think this is a great looking knife. One of the more attractive knives as of recently. So, and you know, I wouldn't expect anything less. Now, some negatives. Let's talk about some negatives. So I don't have very many, I'll be honest. And I'm not just saying that because Metal Complex is, you know, my friend or another knife reviewer. I think me and him both understand that we're going to be, you know, critical just like we would on anything else. And I think we would want that because especially in prototype phase, you want as much honesty as possible because this doesn't reflect the production. What it does, it reflects that if there's an issue, then the production can fix it, right? So that's the beauty of having a prototype and sending them out to people. So I think that right there is an awesome thing that he did. He wasn't just trying to say like, oh, well, I know what I like. You know, he sent it out, let other people try it out to see if there's any issues, and then he's been changing them. So there is a list of changes. One being, and we'll get to the negatives here in 1 second, the pad underneath the clip. And that's another reason why this isn't such a big deal. But mine was more because of the cutout, but I think it's fine. But he is doing that. He's putting a soft spot under there. What else? The pivot collar is going to be on the other side. Blade stock is going to be a little bit thicker. And there's a couple other things. I'll put the list of the changes up on the screen so you can see it. But Oh yeah, and one thing, the stop pin's going to be, because it was backing out a little bit, I did put some super glue on it. And the thing is though, is that it needs to be taken out, it needs to be soaked in like an alcohol or something, because the Loctite from previously there's some stuck up in there, so it doesn't want to screw in 100% all the way. But they're going to be switched where they're not going to be able to spin freely. Not sure if they're just going to be if there's just going to be like a square head, you know, like so one doesn't move and one does, or whatever. I'm not positive, but they're going to make sure that that's, you know, not going to be an issue. Not that it is an issue, by the way. All thumb studs will do that. You just gotta, that's why you kind of want to permanently lock them. Not always. That's why super glue is the best. Red Loctite, you're not going to be able to get it out, but with super glue, you can still get it out, but it is very strong, like Red Loctite. As far as the thumb studs with sharpening, I did clamp it in a fixed angle system to see if the stone would hit the thumb studs when sharpening, and they do not. So it does have clearance, which is awesome, because a lot of knives with thumb studs do not, and you'll wind up hitting them and it'll wind up cutting into the thumb studs. So you do not have to remove these in order to sharpen it. You should be able to sharpen it up just fine, fixed angled or freehand. By the way, listen to the acoustics. I think it has a cool sound. Negatives. Let's talk about these negatives really quick. So I only have, like, besides the clip thing, was one little tiny thing, and I don't think it's an issue at all, but I have the slightest, and I mean like the slightest, tiniest bit of lock rock, only out here at the tip. If I do it here, don't get it, but if I do it right here, I don't think you're gonna be able to see it. That's how subtle it is. Now, the reason why I'm not even saying that that's an issue, even though I am bringing it up, I wasn't even gonna bring it up, but I can see the connection where the lock face is hitting, right? And you can see it's a smaller area. What's happening though is that's going to break in. The lock bar is going to engage stronger, and it's at that point where it's hitting like a little spot a little bit more than another, and it just so happens to be barely moving. You put pressure on the tip, and it's not like failing or anything like that. I've done light spine wax on it, and it's just fine. It's not failing or anything like that. So this is something very subtle. So what's going to happen is as you're using it, as you're cutting, that lock bar, that spot that you see right there is going to get bigger, and there's going to be a lot more engagement. I have no doubt about that at all. That's exactly what's going to happen. So this is just something that happens when knives are breaking in. It's just it's not even a big deal. But, I did have to call it out just because, it was a small thing. But like I said, that's going to go away, so it doesn't matter. So really, all in all, one other little tiny thing is right here is a little sharp. So and the thing is I don't have any feeling right here, so I can't really feel it as far as pain goes, but I can feel it snagging my skin. But right there, just a little sharp. It'd be cool if there was just a tiny little chamfer. It doesn't even have to happen, to be honest. It's not even that big of a deal. I'm really reaching right now. I'm trying to reach so that people don't think I am trying to be biased or anything, because the thing is so damn good. And like I said, I wouldn't expect it any other way, because, somebody who gets to hold thousands and thousands of knives from all different companies is designing this. So, he knows how to design a knife for sure. Now, that's not always the easiest thing to design a knife, just because you can critique one. But, in this case, he did knock it out of the park. Okay, so really quick, let's look at it next to my knife design from We Knife Co. So this is the We Knife Co. Inmate. It'll be coming in probably a couple months. It's in production right now. This one's not my model though. It is We Knife's model. It's just my design. But I've seen a lot of similarities between the two. So, I figured I would show it. And I think that both of them are very, very attractive. And, there's a reason why I picked the spear point blade. It's one of my favorite blade shapes. And obviously he did the same thing. But anyways, it's cool that they are kind of, similar in some ways. It shows, aesthetically, we tend to like some of the same things. I do have some other knife designs coming though. One being my own knife, well, two of my own knives, one with Bestech and one with Riet being the OEM, but they are my knife. They're under the Neve Knife Co. brand. The misdemeanor is going to be coming very soon, which Metal Complex just did a review on if you want to go and see that. That one should be literally being shipped to me any day now. I'm just waiting for them to tell me that it's shipped, and then, you know, I will announce it. But this guy is up for pre-order, and he plans on having it fulfilled by Christmas. So, and that's awesome. I know the pre-order did very, very well, which I'm so happy for him on. So his pre-order is open, and I believe it's going to stay open. So if you guys want to go and check that out and possibly get in on the deals, then I definitely can highly, highly recommend this knife. It's a gorgeous knife. It's attractive. Functionally, it is amazing. The ergonomics and the blade complement each other super, super well. The action's incredible. And basically just the whole thing. I mean, it's exactly what you would expect from KUNWU and Metal Complex. And I'm so happy to see this this happening, you know, with knife reviewers and stuff, because what better way to get, you know, exactly what you want in a knife than to have somebody who, you know, is critical of knives. But anyways, there you guys go. Like I said, go and check out Metal Complex. If you're not subscribed to him, go subscribe. He has an Instagram. Go hit him up on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to his Instagram. Subscribe to mine too. There you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.